I want to talk about something. Okay, so we're going to talk about living in temporary situations like hotels or Airbnbs. We're also going to talk about minimalistic living. Okay, so I've been living. I've been doing house sitting obviously for a couple years now, and since March I've been staying in hotels in between my house sits, and that has been since March. So we're going into 8 months where I've been doing this. Okay. When I moved out of my brother's house, I had about a little over $5,000 saved. Due to my spending and stuff like that, while I've been, living, the savings have been depleted. So this is even with having a full-time job and earnings from house sitting, I depleted my savings. And so I've started to do Uber deliveries again. So now I have 3 incomes, okay? To hopefully replenish the cash flow. And I have curtailed the spending that I was doing and things like that. So why would you have to move out of where you're living to choose to stay in a hotel? Well, first of all, again, I've just said I do it in between houses. That means I'm not staying here at 30 days in a stint. That would be astronomical. That would be over $3,000 a month at an affordable rate, okay? Where I'm paying, actually it'd be over. It'd probably be like $3,500 a month, which is more than a luxury apartment here. But at the moment, I mentioned the luxury apartments because gentrification has been going on since for years, but it really escalated in 2021. The pricing has priced me out for most apartments. But again, as a source player, we should be able to manifest what we want. But I would now need to manifest the money first before I can manifest an apartment, right? So I've just chosen at this point to lean into the hotel situation. I'm like, you know what? Because I was putting pressure on myself and I'm starting to feel bad about my money running out, my savings running out. I was putting pressure and I'm like, how am I going to save up money again? I'm hemorrhaging money. I got to figure it out. So I was like, I'm just going to calm down. So this is what I'm doing. Now, don't get me wrong. I have other things that I'm laying the groundwork for, other things that I'm doing online, things that I'm building, stuff like that. So these things are all taking shape. And I'm I'm getting the ball rolling on that. And I have a lot of other things. Like I sell clothes and stuff like that. I sell other things online. So every now and then I'm making sales here and there that I would love for that to pick up. But I have a lot of pots on a lot of fires, and I have to start tying up the loose ends and putting things out there and getting more stuff done. But that's neither here nor there. Between working my full-time job, switching from hotels to clients' homes, and doing Uber deliveries after I clock out, I do find time to do the online stuff that I'm doing as well, believe it or not. There's just some stuff I have to physically take photos and things like that, and I haven't had, sometimes it's just the mental for me. So why would you do this? You would have to do this because you feel like this is your only alternative. It would have to be a temporary thing for you. And again, it would have to be something that could offset. There would have to be something else in place that could offset how much time you were actually spending in a hotel and how much money you were spending towards that hotel. That's how it could work for you. But now, having said that, if all of those things are in place, then it could be an option for you. Or an Airbnb, doing different Airbnbs in your area could be an option for you. I'm not saying a house, but an apartment or a room people rent out rooms. That's what Airbnb started as a room, right? I think, or whatever it was. There was couch sitting ones, couch hopping ones. But my point is, I've looked at some of the Airbnbs in my area, and some of them are surprisingly cheap, but it was a room. It's just a room in somebody's house. So it's does that work for you? It could be a um, it could be a lily pad as doing a leapfrog kind of thing. It could be a means to get you from point A to point B, or point A to point C, and point B, you're jumping from whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? So there's that. But for me at this point, when I moved my stuff from storage unit A to storage unit B, I was like, there's a lot of stuff. This stuff hasn't been used for 2.5 years. I've gone through this stuff several times before where I've had stuff sitting in storage for 2 years, and I finally find a place where I can live and I can get it all out, and I enjoy it for a certain period of time. But at this point, I was like moving all this stuff, and I was like, this stuff hasn't even been used for 2.5 years. What am I holding on to it for? I should really get rid of a lot of it. This way, when it finally comes time for me to move into a more permanent place, I'll have a certain amount of things. Like I'll have my bed. You need a bed, right? At the very least, you need a bed. Sure, you could find a place and you can get an air mattress. You think my butt is going to sit on an air mattress and that air mattress is going to be inflated the next day? No, it's not. So I was like, I could keep my bed, I could keep my love seat, I could keep like my kitchen stuff, like the things, like the appliances, the little appliances, things like that, like my cookware. Like I could really pare it down to like what I actually need. So it'd be very minimal stuff and sell everything else. Okay? So that's where I'm at now, because A, I would offload all that stuff, and B, I could get a smaller storage unit, and therefore like anything that would be in my storage would be my clothes, those things that I said that I would hold on to, and things that I sell, and my bike. So that's where I'm at now, because I want to be able to create that minimal unlock for myself, and also because at this moment I cannot yet part with my new mattress and my new love seat. Like those two items, I'm like, I really didn't even get to enjoy them fully. Like the mattress I got was nice, so it's like I think about that and whatever. So I know, like I kind of have the connection to those. I can't let go of them yet, you know what I'm saying? But certain things that I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. But ultimately, the less possessions you have, the better. Okay? Even stuff that I have that I schlepp with me back and forth from this person's house to this hotel to that person's house to back to the hotel, it's too much stuff. Yeah, a lot of it is consumables, but I have too many consumables. I'm like, why do I have so many skincare items? Because, I got sucked into all that stuff. I got tons of skincare, tons of like, body washes. This stuff has to get depleted. I have to start depleting this so that, like apparel, this stuff, like there's stuff that has to get used and depleted and discarded. And I have to really reassess things, because it's a lot. It's a lot to schlep, and it's in my car. There's all these things. But it could be a means for you to do the minimalistic lock. Now, hey, listen, if you have an income level where you could stay in different Airbnbs, and your income, whatever it is you do for work, you can do it anywhere. You kind of can be remote. You kind of can be a digital nomad, maybe, in the States. Maybe you go around here and there. It could work for you, and you could free yourself up from all of your possessions, because hotels have all the furnishings you need. Maybe you'd have a couple of things. Like I have a Ninja air fryer, and I have a 10-in-1 cooker thing where I can saute, I could boil, I could cook, I could do anything I would need to do, like bake or air fry or cook. I can make soups, etc. I could cook for myself in my hotel. I can do it with those two items. So that frees me up a lot in a lot of ways. I just got to get rid of some stuff. My point is, you'd have to have like a really good reason that you cannot manifest something better for yourself to move to, or you'd have to have the means financially to do it on a more permanent basis. There's also places like Extended Stay America, which are the more affordable long-term hotel places that you get a kitchenette, and you could have like technically like a studio, or like a little bit more of a like bigger room, or you could have a 1-bedroom kind of hotel room, like a suite. Those are the more affordable long-term stays, and I think with those places you can get a better rate the longer you stay, but I haven't explored that, and it's been several months since I stayed in a place like that. But you get a kitchenette, like you get a stove, a full refrigerator, everything. And like even if you didn't have your own like plates and silver, like you could get all of that within the rent of staying there. They provide you that stuff if you need it. Of course there's a fee, but that's an option, because there are people that cannot afford some place and they stay there long term. There are places like that. Then of course, you have those kind of places that are a step up, like Hyatt House or like Residence Inn, other places like that. But again, you got to have the means to afford them, or you got to have a way to offset how much time you're staying there, and you'd have to have a really good reason to make that choice. So I want to put that out there because it was a conversation I had, and I want to address that because we're all on different frequencies. We're all going through different things. Sometimes you may just want, you might be thinking, how can I free myself from these people that I live with? Or how can I get out of my script, my stage? How can I do that? Now, of course, I'm not talking about moving abroad. I'm talking about staying in the country you're in, maybe moving to a different part of the state, or maybe moving to, if you live on like a border, moving one state over, whatever the case may be. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about within what I have personally, in my own experience, have. I'm not telling anybody you should do this. I'm just saying that there are options if you feel like you don't have any, but you got to know what's involved. I do not ever think that any source player at this point, any awakened, aware source player who has unlocked their script, should have to live in their car. I do not think that. There's no reason for you to live in your car. You don't want to do that. That is stressful. I have lived through that experience for a couple of months back in 2013. You don't want to do that. You don't want to put yourself through that, okay? Just don't do it. But if you feel you have no way out, but you shouldn't be, you got to work on your mental. Knowing that you can live comfortably and happily. I'll tell you, every time I come back here, I get happy. I'm like, oh yeah, I got my big king size bed, whatever like that. And I lean into it, and that's what I'm doing. I'm leaning into it till I can get my savings up and then figure out where I'm going to rent an apartment. Because I think ultimately that for me has been like the biggest thing, because I cannot pinpoint exactly where I want to manifest an apartment, because I see things, I'm like, oh, that's nice. Oh, maybe I'll live in this town, or I'm all over the place. So anyway, this is way too long, but if you were to do something like that, you could end up basically enabling yourself to give up all of your material stuff. Unload it, get cash for it. That's what I'm going to do. So, something to consider. All right, bye.